From the national newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo. Iran reported an enemy attack hit a judiciary site in southern Iran today, killing and wounding an unknown number of civilians and judicial staff in Fars province. Iran has lashed out with multiple attacks on several of its Persian Gulf neighbors and Israel, following the killing of one of its top leaders in an airstrike. Meantime, U.S. President Donald Trump is taking new steps to try to ease the strain on the oil industry as the war in Iran continues. Here's more from ABC's Patrick Reevell in Qatar.
U.S. taking new action in the Strait of Hormuz, dropping multiple 5,000-pound so-called bunker buster bombs on hardened Iranian missile sites along the strait that could be used to target ships. But the waterway remains virtually shut down, choking off global oil shipments. U.S. allies in Europe are refusing President Trump's request for military help reopening the strait, saying this is not their war.
A new Leger poll suggests a majority of Canadians say our government should remain neutral in the American-Israeli war on Iran.
The poll surveyed more than 1,600 Canadians between March 13th and March 16th. Andrew Enns, Leger's executive vice president for Central Canada, says it's possible that some Canadians believe this conflict is another rash decision by U.S. President Donald Trump.
People, quite frankly, like us to be neutral, but then you do have that swath of Canada that sort of says, Iran's a bad country. Maybe we should be more supportive, but, I don't like Donald Trump.
67% of respondents say Ottawa should remain neutral, while a quarter say the government should support the U.S. and Israel. David Augustine, The Canadian Press.
Federal Culture Minister Mark Miller says the government needs to have a serious conversation about AI systems' use of Canadian news.
Miller was asked whether the government is open to extending the Online News Act to affect AI systems, as it requires Meta and Google to make payments to media outlets. Miller says it's not a question about opening up the legislation, but rather making sure that companies are acting responsibly.
Having the news cannibalized and regurgitated undermines the spirit of the use of that news in the first place and the purpose for which it's used, and we have to have that serious conversation with the platforms that purport to use it, including AI shops.
Miller was speaking at a national summit of AI and culture a day after a new report said AI systems depend on Canadian journalism for the information they give out to users, but don't offer compensation or proper attribution in return. John Kennedy, The Canadian Press.
A meteor was spotted streaking across the sky south of the border and crossed over at least 10 states. Here's more from ABC's Rhiannon Alley.
It was just like a boom, like that.
The asteroid bursting through the Earth's atmosphere, sending loud sonic booms, rattling homes from Ohio to Kentucky. Seen just before 9 a.m. for barely 5 seconds, traveling more than 34 miles in the upper atmosphere before breaking apart above Medina, Ohio, and seen across the Northeast.
This is the Canadian Press. In sports, the World Baseball Classic has a new winner for the first time. Venezuela's first showing in the final of the World Baseball Classic turned out to be a winning one, rebounding from a blown 8th-inning lead and beat the U.S. 3-2 on a tie-breaking double in the 9th inning by Eugenio Suarez. NHL action Tuesday night. Cole Caulfield scored his 40th of the season late in overtime to lift the Montreal Canadiens to a 3-2 win over Boston. The Toronto Maple Leafs fell 3-1 to the New York Islanders. The last-place Vancouver Canucks knock off the visiting Florida Panthers 5-2, and the Nashville Predators needed a shootout to edge the Winnipeg Jets. In the NBA, Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 40 points, and the visiting Oklahoma City Thunder beat the Orlando Magic for their 10th straight win. The Toronto Raptors will resume action tonight in Chicago against the Bulls. From the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo.